Today I am going to demonstrate an example of solubility using salt, also known as NaCl, and water. In this experiment, I will show you that different amounts of salt and the same amount of water will not always dissolve because of its solubility. And here are the materials I will be using. As you can see, I have 3 test tubes, and I used a 10 milliliter graduated cylinder to measure out so each are the same. Now that I have all 3 test tubes filled with the same amount of water, I am going to pour salt into each one of them, but different amounts. In the first test tube, I poured 1.25 grams of salt, which should dissolve because the solubility of salt is 3.62 in 10 milliliters of water. In the second test tube, I poured 2.20 grams of salt, which should still dissolve because it is still less than the solubility of salt, which again is 3.62, and you cannot change that number. For the third test tube, I poured 4.96 grams of salt in the test tube, which is a lot more than the rest. This shows this one will not dissolve all the way because it has reached the maximum solubility of salt and will no longer dissolve in 10 milliliters of water because it is 1.34 grams over. Now I am using a stirring rod to stir the salt to make the dissolving process move quicker because the solute is being exposed to the solvent. The test tube in the middle and the test tube on the right will dissolve all the way because I did not use more than 3.62 grams, which is the maximum solubility for salt. As you can see, the last 2 test tubes have dissolved. Even though they are cloudy white, they are still in the process of dissolving. Unlike the first one, that is pretty much done dissolving because we went over the solubility of salt because it has a remainder of 1.34 grams of salt. And that is why it has a milky white color, unlike a cloudy color like the last 2. When I cleaned the test tubes out, this was what was left. The one on the left, which we knew would not dissolve all the way, still has salt remaining on the bottom, unlike the last 2.